Hello YouTube. I want to offer today a review of the Omega Speedmaster Co-Axial Chronograph Chronometer. This is an automatic movement with a caliber 3313B, and this is reference number 311.30.44.50.01.002. And most importantly, this is my grail watch, and I have finally gotten it into my possession. If you look on my channel, you will see a review of the Omega Moonwatch, which I purchased about 6 months ago, thinking that I would hold on to that for a few years as I saved up for the Speedmaster, knowing that ultimately the Speedmaster was my grail watch. And after giving it much thought, I began to look around and calculate the value of some of my other watches that weren't getting much wrist time, other hobbies that I have of things that were just sitting around, and I began to have a sale on eBay, and was able to save a little more than half of what I needed to buy the Speedmaster. And then of course, with the arrival of a wonderful tax return from the United States government, I was able to purchase the watch. This, what you're seeing here, is pretty much my collection. We have the, in the background, we have the Government Search and Rescue Marathon on the right, the SKX Seiko, the Batman modified ceramic bezel. We have the Christopher Ward Dryden Pro 600, beautiful watch there, one of my favorites. And then on the far left, the Tissot Visodate, which is a great sporty dress watch. So as we think about the Omega Speedmaster, the first thing we have to talk about is this really genuine enough to be a moon watch, or to be called a moon watch? Well, I'll start by saying this. On the website for Omega, this is shown to be a discontinued model. They no longer sell this particular model, but it is considered a moon watch, as you can see there. But what makes it a challenge is the fact that this is not a regular moon watch in the sense of what most people think. In fact, I'm going to stop the chronograph, which I happen to have running, so let me stop that, let you see it reset, and talk a little bit about the dimensions and the particular features of this watch and why I chose it. This particular model is a coaxial movement, so not the 861 that's in some of the other models. This has a date window at 6 o'clock, and this was really a big deciding factor for me. One of my non-negotiables is any moon watch that I bought would have to have the 3 subdials. There is a coaxial version of this with the date window that has 2 subdials, but I wanted the third one because to me that's what makes a moon watch. That was probably number 1. But the reason I wanted a date window is in my work, I'm constantly recording the date of my notes, and I'm also writing about things that happened yesterday, the day before, things will be happening tomorrow, so I'm using dates all the time. And when you're writing other dates, you can get really confused quickly. So I always, before I write a note, glance down at my watch and check the date. To me, a watch has to do 2 things. It has to, number 1, tell me the time, and number 2, tell me the date. As you can see, all my watches in the background have the date window. So so that was something that really was holding me back from the Speedmaster Professional Moon Watch. But when I saw it in this particular version, I knew this was the watch I wanted. So one of the bonuses of this particular watch, I consider it a bonus, is that it comes with a 44.25 millimeter case. So the Speedmaster Professional has a 42 millimeter, and of course the Reduced has a 39 millimeter. But to me, this was an added bonus because I have a 7 1/4 inch wrist, and I particularly like larger watches, and this happened to fit the bill. So I'm very pleased. I realize that this is not the classic moon watch in the as far as being a Speedmaster Professional. However, to me, the way I refer to it is I'm not going into the moon anytime soon, so I do not need a NASA qualified watch. What I need is a moon watch that is retrofitted for life here on Earth, particularly my life, because that's where I'm going to live it. I also want to show you this for some of you that are afraid that maybe considering this case and think it might be too big. What we have here on the right is the Christopher Ward Dryden Pro, which is a 43 millimeter. This is a very hefty watch. I don't have the bracelet on it right now, but when the bracelet's on it, this is really a lot of watch. And I don't, in fact, this feels, even though it's a millimeter smaller, feels like a significantly larger watch than the Speedmaster. The Speedmaster's bezel is inside the width of the case a little bit, whereas not quite the case on the Dryden Pro. And so this just wears larger. So I think the Speedmaster, this 44 millimeter, wears more like a 42 to 43. And I have tried on the 42 when I was in an authorized dealer, and it felt to me kind of like my 40 millimeter Seiko in the back. So I'm very, very pleased with the size. And then, of course, the thing I have to talk about is the lugs. I just love the lugs of Omega, the twisted lugs of the Speedmaster. You also see it, I believe, on the Planet Ocean, and those are just beautiful design. So I think there's a reason this watch has been around for 60 years. It is just about perfect. And of course we have the sunken subdials. There's been a lot of rumor on the internet that this is a flat dial. It is really not a flat dial. And there's a little bit of graduation on the very outer edge around the minute and hour markers. So I really like the depth and the dimension of this. So the Omega Speedmaster design. And in the back, let's talk a little bit about the movement. We have the 3313B, and the reason why we use the letter B here is the original movement had the letter A, and this is a very controversial movement. In fact, I would say that one of the things I had to compromise a little bit on in getting the watch that I think would most fit my life is having to get a movement that's got a little bit of a checkered past. The 3313 is not very well respected because the very early versions of this had a lot of trouble. A lot of things breaking inside. Depending on what you read in the forums, so whether this is a robust movement that'll last you many, many years, or whether it's just got little broken pieces inside that I don't even know about right now. One day I will get this service, and I will likely upgrade it from a B to a C, even though most of the B versions really solve the problems for Omega. But the C version has a 3-level coaxial instead of a 2, and please do not ask me what that means. I just know from reading on the forums that that's going to offer a little better reliability in the long run. So there is an opportunity to upgrade this in the next servicing, which I probably will do. So otherwise, it is a very accurate movement. This is just a couple of seconds a day fast, and that's very consistent, between 1 and 2 seconds a day. And so over the course of a week, I didn't lose much at all in my first week of ownership, or didn't gain much at all. The winding action is pretty tight. So I find, however, that this rotor spins beautifully, and every once in a while, it's hard to get it to do it here on video, but it will spin nicely and almost like a top sometimes. And so with a little bit of winding, it really charges up quickly. It does have a 52-hour power reserve. We have, and I should mention, the sapphire crystal on the front and the sapphire crystal on the back, as well as 100-meter water resistant, which is 50 meters more than the professional. So I don't know that I ever have the guts to submerge this in water, probably not. But though next time I have it in, I may just have water pressure or air pressure test it, and maybe I'll be brave enough to go swimming in this watch. Probably not, though. So one of the downsides of this, of any Speedmaster, is the cost of servicing, and the challenge is going to be it'd probably be difficult to find a local watchmaker who can service this, so I'll probably have to go back to Omega. So what I will have to do is decide in the next year or so whether I want to go ahead and get my first servicing, because this watch was made in 2010, so it's roughly it'll be 7 years old later this year. So do I want to pay the money to get it serviced? Do I want to sell this and get a more, maybe a professional, and go ahead and rely on the greater reliability of the manual wind that's a little easier to get serviced? Well, so that's in the future for me to decide, but my hope is to keep this watch and to love this watch, and to one day hand it down to my kids. This is my my first luxury timepiece, and I'm very, very excited to have it. Very proud to have it. So let's do a wrist shot, and then we'll call it a day. So there we have it on the wrist. Again, I have a 7 1/4 inch wrist, and I think this looks quite lovely on my wrist and fits me just nice, very nicely. The bracelet, I love the bracelet. I have a couple of leather crocodile straps that look fabulous on this. In fact, it's probably one of the very first watches that I've almost preferred leather on it. One of the things that I will tell you about this watch that utterly surprised me, and I should have said this up front, the two things that really surprised me. One is the incredible detail in the fine print on the dial. I mean, these are lovely watches back here, but I tell you, the very first time that I took a look at this watch, I realized this is why they call it a luxury timepiece. The print on the dial was just perfect. It's so crisp and so sharp. And the second reason, or the second thing that really surprised me about this watch that I just wasn't expecting is how beautiful of a dress watch this works. Many have said, oh yeah, this works as a dress watch with a suit. I wasn't quite believing that until I tried it on. And it is very classy, very dressy, and with a black crocodile strap, this thing looks like $1 million. So there we go. And let's run the chronograph here to let you get a shot of it here. The pusher is very firm, and I think it's just a very smooth operation. And you'll notice one of the advantages of the caliber 3313 is how smooth the initial jump is. In fact, there is no jump, so if you watch that. Just a very smooth start. Very smooth stop as well, very smooth reset. We'll let this run for about a minute, and you will notice that as it reaches the 60-second mark, 60-minute mark, the 3 o'clock subdial will gently move over to 1, and you'll get to see that happen. So as I'm closing out this review, again, why would you be interested in this watch? Well, if you want a watch that really is larger, has more wrist presence, a little more heft, as well as a date window, but also maintains that classic Omega Speedmaster look. This is definitely, I think, a watch worth considering. The automatic movement does make it convenient to know, and it feels alive on the wrist, and it really is a pleasure to wear. And the co-axial movement is just very, very accurate. So we're about to see it flip to 1 minute on the chronograph, spot on at 12 o'clock. So we will stop, reset, and there we go. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. Tune in for any more watch reviews as I get them, and I hope that you'll click like down below and subscribe if you would like, and hope and wish that you have the best of days today. Thank you.